Good morning, good morning. How's it going, guys? Nice to have you on this Friday. It's a gorgeous day outside. Super gorgeous day, nice and sunny. Should be like this for the rest of the day, which is nice. Looking forward to that. And so, what do we have here? I wanted to look at the S&P 500. I wanted to look at the Dow. I wanted to look at the NASDAQ and take a look at what's transpired this week, because we got some big moves here. We got some really big moves that took place, and so I want to take a look at what those moves were, and break down for you guys what we should be expecting next week. NASDAQ, we got a breakthrough that area that I was talking about last time we did our session. We were talking about a demand zone. I'm going to shrink myself in a minute here, but we were starting to get some weak signals here on the market. Excuse me. And you remember what I've been talking about. Warren Buffett sold a ton of shares in holdings that he had, and he amassed a major cash reserve. And a lot of people have been speculating what's going to happen. Why is he doing that? Well, bottom line is we got to look on the charts to see whether or not the markets are going to drop, or if they're going to hold demand zones and continue going higher. So we got to look for the signals that are going to give us an early indication as to whether or not the market's going to continue higher or go lower. On the S&P 500, we were looking at the daily chart for quite some time here. If you remember, on the daily chart, we were looking at this area of demand here, and for a while it was holding, and we had mentioned that it had been previously tested a couple times, right? Once, twice, and then we were getting that test a third time. But as you can see, that zone has since been removed, and what has taken place with price? Price has declined. Okay, so where are we at now? Well, let's take a look here, guys. Look at the weekly time frame. Okay, if the daily time frame is not reliable, then we have to go up one time frame. And what do we see here? We see price testing an ascending trend line. Now, could that ascending trend line hold price? And, next week, could we see price start to rally from there? Yes, that is possible. But typically, if we're going to see long-lasting momentum coming in here to the upside, typically what we like to see is price coming into areas of demand. And so when we look at the weekly chart, there's no demand here, okay? There is demand that was down here, okay? But that all existed on the top side of that trend line, okay? That's an important thing to recognize. That demand and those tests of that demand happened on the top side of the trend line. If price was to decline right now, we'd be on the underside of the trend line, okay? So that would be giving us an indication that weakness is coming in, and that maybe buying is not going to be the main driving factor going forward. So, when we look at the daily chart again, we have, I would say, caution signals here. Caution, okay? Because that demand has been removed. If price was going to go higher, they would have likely used that area of demand to cause price to go higher, all right? So since they're removing it, now you have to ask yourself, why are they doing that? Okay, they could have easily used that zone to bring price upwards like this, but they didn't. So now they're bringing price to the downside. Now, yes, we are contacting another demand area down here, as you can see. So is it possible that we're going to rally up from there? I think, it's possible that we get a short-term rally because we have that demand being contacted. And we also have the trend line holding and being contacted. So we could see some short-term momentum to the upside. But remember, that's short-term momentum because this is a daily demand zone. I wouldn't be expecting long-term momentum to come out of this, okay? For there to be long-term demand, there'd have to be some new long-term buying taking place on the weekly time frame. Okay, so we need to see new aggressive buying coming in. So we wouldn't be able to tell that until it actually took place, because they would actually have to create it live, right? So when I look at the weekly time frame, I see the same thing. It's I have to be caution. I have to have caution with this. Okay, it's not necessarily bullish because of where price is contacting right now and how there's no demand on the top side of this of the ascending trend line. So I'd be aware of this and recognize that there is a chance that we see price head even lower. Okay, on the monthly time frame, this is still bullish because we have an ascending trend line, very strong one, and we have an uptrend. Okay, but I will caution you as well with something else. When we look at this price action, as price has been rallying up here, and if we look to the left, there's no institutional buying that took place here on the higher time frame. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the daily chart is breaking down. The weekly chart is on the verge of breaking down. It could hold the ascending trend line and we could see new demand coming in, but we wouldn't see that until the demand came in. So it could break down. And if it were to break down and we had to go to the monthly time frame to see what is likely going to take place, there's no demand here on the monthly time frame. So if price were to drop, it would drop quite significantly, right? Unless the banks came in midway through the drop and started buying again. But we wouldn't know that until it actually happened, okay? I'm just trying to determine where the buying has been and whether or not we can rely on that historical buying to be used for future buying. And from what I'm seeing here, I'm not seeing much support for that, okay? So again, if price was to break down through the weekly chart and not hold its structure, then I would suspect that it could easily drop down to the 4900s, okay? That is the only place where I see significant buying that came in from the institutions, is the 4900s. So let's be aware of that, okay? Not only that, but you know, when we look at the 6-month time frame, we have quite a lot of momentum that took place here. We have basing that took place here, momentum candle, momentum candle, momentum candle, momentum. That's 4 momentum candles straight up. All right, so that's pretty aggressive. Normally we get 2, sometimes even 3 if it's super aggressive, but 4, that's quite unusual. So, you know, there is a very good chance that we see a pullback. After such aggressive moves like this, we tend to see pullbacks. So let's be cautious out there and just recognize that we could start seeing some major pullbacks, and that would be a beautiful thing, because really weak stocks, we could be looking for shorting opportunities, and when everything pulls back, we could be looking for new buying opportunities and buying things at a lower price with a lot of room for upside. So it's a great situation. All right. So let's look at the NASDAQ. So NASDAQ, if one chart is going to give us an indication of what's likely going to happen with the other chart, then we can look at the NASDAQ, okay? So the NASDAQ has been giving us a different signal altogether. When we look at the daily chart, this is what we have. We have a bearish chart. Why do we have a bearish chart? Well, price came into an institutional selling zone up here, and it's been nothing but selling ever since, okay? So a bearish chart. So short term, what are the banks doing? They're selling. Okay. Now we got to go to the weekly time frame. And what do we have here? Is it bullish? Nope. caution with this one. Why? Well, because we did have an institutional demand area right here. And I said we did because, as you can see, we're currently breaking through that area as we speak. Okay. So we're breaking through demand. So what does that tell us? Well, as long as that demand was holding, we would be watching for medium-term buying to take place on the NASDAQ. So price came down, as you can see, looks like a couple times. Price came down and we had buying right here and right here. We had buying. But it could never surpass the previous highs here, which was a problem. Okay. And at those previous highs was this area of supply. So we would have needed this area of supply to be removed and price to go higher for there to be the continued buying from this area of demand. That didn't happen. Supply held and price dropped. Okay. So price dropped right back down to this area of demand, and now it's removing it. So it's not a good sign for the NASDAQ. The only thing is we have a demand zone on the monthly time frame. Okay. But remember, on the S&P, we don't have demand there. Here's demand. It's not the highest quality area of demand. So could we get a reaction to the upside? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible because it is still demand zone. Even though it's not of the highest quality, it's still demand zone. But I'd be very careful with that because the short-term selling could lead into medium-term selling. And what do I mean by that? Well, you see this ascending trend line here on the weekly time frame? Yeah. If we get some basing around this area and then price drops, this will turn into a bearish chart. Okay? And if we have short-term selling and medium-term selling, that is bad. Up against a low-quality monthly area demand that could represent long-term selling. We got major forces coming into play here. Major selling versus some potential buying. So it doesn't look too good for the NASDAQ. It looks somewhat weak in my eyes. Okay. And let's go to the Dow Jones. So the Dow Jones has got a similar situation. So we had some demand here, right here. And as you can see, we have broken through that area. So this had the potential of being bullish, but now it's caution, okay? Caution, because the demand is breaking through. So it's not high quality. Same thing with the weekly time frame. You have to be cautious with it because it's no longer bullish. Why is it no longer bullish? Well, it was bullish up until a certain point. We had an ascending trend line here, and we had institutional demand here. Okay? And as you could see, we had a contact with this demand right here. And so when medium-term demand comes into play, like a weekly demand zone, we expect there to be medium-term buying. Okay? That's supposed to last many days, many weeks. As you can see, we had 1-2 weeks of a move to the upside, but again, look at the highs. It couldn't really get past these highs here. All right. So it reversed down to the demand, and now it's removing that demand. So now this is opening up the chart for a move lower. Okay. And if you see where this ascending trend line is on the weekly time frame, look where price is right now. We are on the underside of that ascending trend line. So this is not good. Okay, because this is opening up the chart for a move lower. Okay, now when we look at the monthly time frame, we have the same situation that I was showing you with the S&P. When we look here and we look to the left, there is no buying zones until we get down here. Okay, so if price wanted to start dropping, we can get below 40,000. We're at 43. We can get easily below 40,000. There's nothing to stop that from happening. Okay. So short-term selling is now starting to, short-term buying is now turning into short-term selling. Medium-term buying is now becoming a chart where we have to be very cautious with, because right now we can't rely on historical buying to determine future buying. We have to wait for future buying to take place to determine if there's going to be a move to the upside. That's why we have to be cautious with this chart, because we don't know at this point if they're going to start buying out of nowhere. What I can say is the ascending structures, the buying areas that they had, they're falling apart. They're becoming useless, okay? So we have to be very cautious with that. When we look at the monthly time frame, there's a chance that we see price drop, and it can drop significantly. All right? It could do that. Okay, folks, let's see. Any comments? Good evening, everyone from Vietnam. Nice to see you. Good morning, Kevin. I want to know about COT report. Well, we'll do that on another session. Look at Bitcoin if you have a chance. Bitcoin's dropping hard. Yeah, we're not covering Bitcoin in today's episode, but Bitcoin's dropping hard. I told you this. If you've been following our YouTube videos, I told you the chances of a drop were huge. I also mentioned that 110 was likely going to be the highest point, right? We did some calculations on our chart, and look at that. I told you 110 most likely reversal from here. I mean, is that just not crazy? Yeah, I didn't guess. We did calculations based on things that we know to be true. We applied logic to the charts, and that's what logically came up, was 110 was going to be the highest point. And so there you go. Now we're getting a nice drop. Bro, why don't you show us your account? Show your live account. NJ, come on, dude. I do show my trades on my live account with members, but I don't show it to the public because that's what people pay me for, okay? People pay to get access to the school, to the lessons, because they want to learn how it is that we do the trading here. And for those people that pay and show me that they're serious, I do show them my live trades and my positions and all that, okay? Otherwise, if you want to see those positions, you can join and become a member. Otherwise, I'm not going to show my personal private live account to the public, okay? And be careful, those that are so eager to show you their live account, they're not real live accounts, just to let you know, okay? Anyways, hope you guys liked this session. Hope it was helpful to you. And we'll come back and we'll do some CFTC data stuff next week. But today I just wanted to focus on these indexes because we had some significant moves taking place in them, okay? It was very significant, and I thought you guys should know. If you guys trade stocks, you got to know what's happening in the stock market, okay? All right, my friend. So long. Arrivederci. NJ, stick around next week. Watch some of our sessions. You'll learn a little bit more. Appreciate it. You take care, all right? Have a good one, everybody.